welcome back, bookworms and listeners. You're here for a special purpose. We're here to fulfill that purpose. I suddenly feel very used. Nope, I'm good. All right, we're doing this for fun. That's what we're here for. We have special breaking news for you. There are two things that are going to happen. The first is that this is going to come out as soon as physically possible tomorrow morning, which means unless there's a massive mistake that I do, I'm not going to edit that mistake out. Also, given feedback from myself and at least one other commenter on YouTube, I am not going to do the annoying sound when I make a mistake. I thought that would help me find the things. It did not help me find the things, obviously because I left two of them in there. Not doing that anymore. For those of you who wish to fall to sleep to my dulcet tones and Sandbox's dulcet tones and Griff's dulcet tones, there's no longer going to be a really loud meh sound, except that one right there. Unless we do spoilers, in which case there still will be. Anyways, the reason this is coming out as soon as possible is because it's light day. It's light day tomorrow, Trevor. And they have changed what they're doing because Dragonsteel values customer feedback, and we're the customers, and we gave feedback. Not me specifically, but enough people. So I thought it was pretty cool what they were going to do. Tomorrow starts light day for the next 2 weeks. Every weekday was going to do a new drop of savings, especially on a bunch of new items. You bundle them together, save $20 here and there. However, as all of you international non-US people know, shipping is a bugger. Downright horrible. And if you had to buy multiple things, multiple days, they couldn't all combine that into one shipping cost. So they heard you loud and clear. And instead, every single item that is available during the light day weeks is going to be available, including all of the sales, tomorrow. Starting tomorrow at 11 a.m. Mountain, which is 12 p.m. Central.
Which is today when you're listening to
Yes.
this.
My goodness, that's the whole point of doing this. That's today. That is today for you, and actually most likely in the past for you as well, if you're listening to this after October 29th.
Yes. Stop what you're doing. Go to brandonsanderson.com. Check out whatever's left.
Yeah, whatever's left. So I think this is a solid move. We already talked about this being a great alternative to Black Friday. I also think it's a great move because while the bundling does save you $20 here and there, ultimately to me that's not enough of a discount for myself to be like, well, if I don't get it tomorrow, I'm never going to get it. Right? Like if I want some of those things $20 down the road, $20 is not going to be a barrier for me. It might be for some people. You do you. But it's nice they're doing bundles and they're doing savings. They haven't in the past really. They're also doing, if you missed the secret projects, they're doing various specials on what's left for those, including combining the extra merch they came out with, the little Mervin plush for the Frugal Wizard's handbook. What is it?
Handbook.
We're the Silverlight Guide, and that's the Frugal Wizard's handbook. Right. Anyways, they're coming out with new pins. That's the one I'm most excited about. May or may not get them tomorrow. If you're going to Dragonsteel Nexus, these are the new items. So if you're flying and you don't want to, carry all that stuff, consider getting them tomorrow, or at least, they'll be available between now and then, and after the event. The Brotherwise, okay. Did I miss anything on that? Oh, Bands of Mourning, leather bounds. That's the big thing. Those are coming out tomorrow, and there are a limited number of signed copies. They're going to drop, signed and numbered. They're going to drop at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard today, right now, as you're listening to this. They did qualify it with, if you are intending to purchase one of those, purchase it. Don't put it in your cart and go shop because they cannot save what's in your cart from being sold. It's not like a ticket event for like Taylor Swift where if you've grabbed the tickets, they're yours for 15 minutes. No, it will be pulled out of your cart and you will be upset. This has happened to people with the Wind and Truth pre-orders. People got upset because they had it in their cart and they couldn't check out fast enough, which is sad. It's annoying. Maybe one day in the future they'll update that. But if you want to buy that, put it in your cart, buy it immediately, then go shop.
I am curious if they are prepared for tomorrow, today.
I I think they are because I
Because they were very quick to blame open table, I think it's what it's
yeah,
called, or tabletop.
yeah.
Open table. Tabletop, because that we warned them. Well, I don't know what server they using, if it's the third party or not, but
I
they better be
expect
ready.
so two things. There are three things going on here. The first thing is they've redone their website, right? They added the Cognitive Realm blog, which has a lot
Hmm.
of really good like articles about writing and Dragonsteel stuff. Go check it out. I love Jancy Patterson's piece on strong female characters and why she hates that term and how female characters should be written. Um, so they, when I lost my train of thought, but it's back on the tracks. It was not stolen like in Alloy of Law.
They made some nice updates to the website.
They made some nice updates to their website. I believe they have like pretty high quality. They probably are running it through AWS and they will be able to just purchase extra servers. In fact, they already probably have, and they will be ready for tomorrow, especially if it's dynamic and they pay after the fact, which I believe is how they can set it up to work. They can just keep adding servers as needed. The second thing is tickets. I it's crazy that like 10,000 people crashed a website. This isn't like, yeah, a lot of people want the Bands of Mourning. I'm not sure it's that many, but maybe it is. But the rest, after that initial surge, the rest of the items, I think people are probably going to take their time. And then in terms of being ready for the rest of the items to actually ship, I think they're going to take their time and not rush. I think they've got a good logistics operation going on. So we have full confidence in you, Dragonsteel team. I can't wait to get my Words of Radiance leather bound add-ons that I got because I didn't get the book. So I'm probably near the end, which is perfectly fine. But hey, I was texting you earlier, Trevor, about being a windrunner on this latest iteration of the Radiant quiz
Oh
because
yeah.
I can't
I meant
decide.
to retake that.
You should right now. No, actually, it would be interesting to see what happens if we all take it at the same time. Uh, if anything changes and discuss it immediately afterwards. But that's like a next spring thing. That's anyways. I bought the my wife is light weaver because Shalon. She's my wife cosplayed as Shalon. She's a natural redhead, and
Hmm.
and then for the plushies, I didn't really like how the Truth Watcher looked, so I bought Sylphrena anyways. So I already have the plush for the Windrunner. That's what I'm getting at. All right. Uh,
Yeah. It's funny because I'm also, when I first took it, I was Windrunner. Second time it was Windrunner. Third it was Truth Watcher. Fourth it was Truth Watcher. But
wow.
Windrunner's always in the top three. So it's like,
Yeah, yeah. I've gone between Windrunner, Edge Dancer, and Truth Watcher, with Truth Watcher being the primary one up until now.
yeah. Yeah,
Well,
Edge Dancer and Skybreaker are always in like my top four too.
oh, interesting. Nice.
Um,
Yeah.
Something about Windrunner, Truth Watcher, Edge Dancer. I don't know.
Yeah, and somebody online did the research of what exactly which values get you
Yeah.
100% of each.
Hmm.
So you can go find out um from what mine changed. I went from being very skeptical to being very spiritual recently. So that was a big difference, which is neat.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you know your radiant order, listener, put it in the comments. The first person to comment on Spotify that is attending Dragonsteel Nexus, you will get 10% off whatever you buy at our booth. But you have to show us that you commented and you're going to Nexus. It doesn't do anything if you're not going to Nexus. So the first person going to Nexus who comments on this episode gets 10% off. And we're going to sell stickers, so it's worth your time. Stickers are fun. They're cute. I designed most of them, and they're just Cosmere characters mostly.
Nice.
Okay. Last update, the Mistborn deck builder is going to start shipping later this week. Bad news for those of you who are planning to pick it up at your local game store. The original shipment got delayed by 2 weeks, so the local game store copies will be there 2 weeks later. They got blocked at the port, something or other. But they already have another shipment on their way, along with other reprinting of Brotherwise games. And I think that's it for news. Sanderson started working on White Sand Pros.
I saw that. Well, he started like the pre-writing, he says.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't actually watch
But the
it.
Moment Zero is done, the new non-Cosmere novella. Clearly just like a palate cleanser for him that was on his mind. He's just like, let's get it out.
Yeah. Don't we all have
what would take us like a year or two? It just,
right.
Quick 3 weeks for him.
Yeah. He's been thinking about it for the last, 44 years. So it just kind of flew out of him.
You think?
No.
Okay.
Because he's only like 45 years old, so
I think he just woke up one day, was like, that would be a cool idea. All right.
Well,
3 hours later, here you go.
Right. He falls asleep telling himself stories. And if they're good, they'll stick around. Seriously. Have you
wow.
Yeah. So he'll start
I think I heard that.
Right. And then he'll also like on road trips, he'll like envision himself like on various planets in the Cosmere or daydreaming about stories. So he has like legitimately thought through stories over and over.
I need him to release the tapes.
That would be great. That would be.
Even if it's for something that we've already gotten, I just want to see like how his mind works. It's the closest we're going to get to studying his brain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, actually, I've met somebody very similar. My brother-in-law's niece, she is constantly writing stories. And she has, like, since she was 5. She's just been writing stories. It's
nice.
Anytime we go anywhere and they happen to be there, she's got her laptop writing a story. It's crazy.
That's cool.
Yeah, I
That's
imagine
awesome.
she'll be a published author sooner than I will.
Oh, yeah. Very quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that was it. If we missed anything, Haxorus, Cosmere knowledge person, leave us anything in the comments. No, I'm just kidding. You do that for the actual story, not for updates. Shout out to Haxorus for commenting on our stuff and telling us how we're great and how we're wrong. Okay. The chapters are medium today, so we'll get through them.
All right, I'm ready.
I'm gonna pretend I am. Chapter 25. Purposeful Danger. The Almighty has given us the limbs to move and the mind and the minds to decide. Let no monarch take away what was divinely granted. The heralds also taught that all should have the sacred right of freedom of movement to escape a bad situation, or simply to seek a brighter dawn. From The Way of Kings, 4th Parable. Walking into that safe house was like stepping into a memory. That of Shallan's first meeting with Mraize. There, she'd entered the basement of a building that shouldn't have had one. Here, after following Shade through the entryway, she headed down another set of stairs cut into the stone. They were smooth and well-shaped, dark with lichen, with some creme buildup at the corners of the steps, indicating that water had occasionally seeped in during the many years this place was unoccupied. Using a diamond for light, Shade took them down, and Shalon wondered at the ancients who had crafted it. Why would you build downward, risking flooding? The air was damp in here, though the stones weren't wet, and she soon smelled incense. At the bottom of the stairs, Shalon found the Alethi woman who had been sent to spy on Dalinar. The actor, an acolyte ghostblood who had probably been teased with membership like Shalon. The woman was studying Mraize's trophies, housed in a small room full of glass-fronted cases. Each unlabeled artifact had its own shelf lit by a handful of chips. A silvery horn of claw from some great beast, a chunk of light red crystal, like pink salt, though of a deeper, more vibrant color, a violet stone egg, partly crystalline, with silver swirling around its shell, a fat, succulent leaf that pulsed red and seemed to radiate heat, a vial of pale sand she now recognized as having a very practical application. Secrets, each stoking her hunger. She'd been strung along with the promise of at least of a feast of answers, ideas, even dreams. Worlds full of people for her sketch collection. Shade let the newcomers linger to look at the trophies, but Shalon feigned indifference, leaning against the wall and glancing through the eye holes in the mask toward the glass case beside her. There, in the reflection on the glass, she glimpsed a shadowy figure with white holes for eyes. Sja-anat, one of the unmade, was here. She studied Shalon in turn, existing in this realm only as a reflection, then smiled in a knowing way and vanished. Storms. Did she know who Shalon really was? There wasn't time to wonder, as Shade waved the two newly arrived Ghostbloods into the next room. Shalon risked following, though Shade remained behind with the actor, and closed the door after them. The room beyond turned out to be large, bigger than the building above, though the ceiling was relatively low. It was entirely stone, with little furniture, and her door was in the northeast corner. The southern wall, to Shalon's left, maybe 40 feet away, was stacked with bales of hay, targets on each one. Maybe 20 feet ahead of her, 7 people clustered around a lone podium. They chatted softly, and Shalon's breath caught as she saw Mraize with the group, fiddling with some contraption. His very silhouette still intimidated her. He had a lean strength that never quite matched his fine clothing, which today was a coat, shirt, and trousers, with a ruffled portion of his shirt bursting out below the neck. Bright red, like blood from a slit throat. "Remember your breathing," Thale whispered. "Keep it up, kid." Shalon nodded absently and did her breathing exercises, calming her emotions. Half of the act of an imitation like this was about emotions, and not drawing the wrong spren. She could do this. No need for anxiety. Mraize barely glanced over as the two newcomers joined 6 others. Shalon hung back, breathing calmingly and scanning the room, the mask sitting strangely on her face and blocking some of her field of vision. Where was Eatil? There. She saw the woman watching the group from beside the north wall, giving her a full view of the room. Short and masked, Eatil crouched on the stone ground. Others, particularly those from Alethi culture, might have mistaken her for a guard, but she was the master, and Mraize her second. Storms, where Mraize was an overt, blatant kind of dangerous, always holding some sort of weapon, talking about hunting and death. Eatil was the quiet kind. The kind that watched from the shadows, ruminating on the sounds you'd make when stabbed. Shalon stepped forward, because standing in the doorway would draw attention. She forced herself to adopt the proper gait, and found her counterpart, the third masked off-worlder, watching from all the way across the room by the west wall. He prowled forward, passing a strand of burning incense, and approached the two newcomers where, Shalon could barely hear, He offered them a drink. The guard slunk to a bar set up against the east wall near Shalon and started mixing the drinks. This was a trained assassin, and Moraes was having him mix drinks? Was this a way of intimidating the others? No. No, the Ghost Bloods were relaxed. They just needed drinks, and the assassin was the one available to get them. Ah, Moraes said as the large contraption in his hands clicked. There. He hefted it and placed a small, heavy arrow into it. The device was a kind of crossbow, though larger and bulkier than the ones Shalon had seen. Intrigued, Shalon stepped closer. Then she checked Eotil and the other masked off-worlder. They were watching not the device, but the people. Right. Shalon tried to do the same, moving along the north wall, behind the group of people who faced the targets. Moraes, said Aika, the Thalen trader in a skirt and vest. You said this meeting was urgent. Why are you playing with a new toy while we have drinks? Had to wait for stragglers, stolen purse, he said with a smile. And a good drink, well studied, is an excellent start to any difficult conversation. Feels strange, said the other Thalen, to have so many of us together. How long has it been? Since the briefing on the Everstorm, said the man wearing the patterned regalia of an Azish vizier. The year before it arrived. Honestly, I've missed you all. Moraes, we have Oathgates now. We should meet more often. Meeting is dangerous, Moraes noted, raising the crossbow to sight at one of the targets. Moraes, love, said a woman, Vaden like Shalon by her accent. You enjoy danger, don't you? Shalon took a memory of her. Aside from the vizier, she was the only one of the group not in Hoyd's stack of drawings. I enjoy purposeful danger, Icy Tongue, Moraes said. Shalon knew he had a nickname for everyone. Not a code name, just a quirk of his. Danger with value and lessons. Foolhardy danger, without purpose, is a waste. A whorehouse for the emotions. He triggered the crossbow, which shot the larger-than-average bolt into one of the hay bales. You missed the center, Moraes, one of the others said. Hence the practice, Moraes said, reloading the device. As the assassin delivered drinks, Shalon worried what she was expected to do. Hopefully not fetch drinks. If she had to ask someone their preference, she didn't like her chances of imitating Eotil's accent, which she'd heard only a few times. Best for her to avoid saying anything. She prowled along the wall, smoke from one incense burner wafting in her wake. Eotil glanced at her. Panic erupted in Shalon's chest, like daggers suddenly slid between her ribs. Calm, Vale reminded. She did her best, maintaining her poise, and picked a spot, then squatted, mimicking Eotil's posture. Moving had drawn attention, so she determined to stay still. Blessedly, that seemed the right move. Eotil's attention immediately returned to the group, and the other assassin settled back against the west wall and watched with folded arms. Is this device the reason we're all here, risking discovery, Moraes? Icy Tongue asked, sipping her drink. No, he said, raising the weapon once more. This is merely a diversion. He released and hit the target, though not at the center. Any of you ever used one of these? Crossbow, the Azish man said. Common guardsman weapon. No, Icy Tongue said. That's a Thalen hand ballista, heavier than a normal crossbow, intended to deliver a payload. Exactly, Moraes said, nodding to her. They were developed to carry oil or a flaming brand to set fire to enemy sails. Never been terribly effective, unfortunately, but they're enjoyed by some enthusiasts. My father had a few when I was young. He held up the device, studying it. A modern weapon relying on mechanical strength rather than strength of arm. It's obviously difficult to aim, one of the others said. I have trouble seeing why you're so interested in it. Mraize casually loaded another bolt. Shallan studied him from where she crouched. His actions always had a purpose. What was the lesson here? Storms, even when he wasn't watching her, she felt intimidated by him. Worse, she felt an icy chill at the nape of her neck and, despite trying not to, glanced at Eatil, who had been looking in her direction. Shallan glanced away immediately, breathing as calmly as she could. An anxiety spren appeared anyway, a twisting black cross. Did Eatil suspect? The spren wasn't an immediate tell, as one could come because you were worried about basically anything, but storms. Storms, storms, storms. These were experts in the very arts that Shallan, as Vale, had pretended to know. Sweat ran down her face, and the mask suddenly felt heavy and suffocating. Her breath kept getting caught, the heat of it puffing around her cheeks and leaving her skin damp. She wanted to rip the mask free. "Did you notice," Vale said, "that he left his trouser leg tucked into his sock?" Shallan glanced again at Mraize, and it was true. In dressing, he'd let his right sock catch the back of his trouser leg. In the face of panic, it was an almost comical detail. Vale chuckled. "He's just a person, Shallan. They all are. How does Mraize try to control you?" "Through intimidation," she whispered. "Intimidation, secrets, and an air of mystery. And if you refuse to give him any of those benefits, then just a person. Eatil, too. People, and highly confident ones, who could make mistakes. They wouldn't expect Shallan to be here, would never assume her capable of taking the face of one of their best." "Even the most skilled swordswoman," Radiant said, "can lose a duel. They might be good, but if they suspected you, they'd have done something by now. You're doing it." "You're doing it," Vale said. "I mean, look at how silly he is." He really wasn't. It was a small mistake, one people commonly made, and she was in over her head, she knew. But this had to be done, and that little mistake Mraize had made, it was a sign that he was flawed. Shallan chuckled softly, and the anxiety spren vanished away. "Did you know," Mraize said to the others, "that on some worlds the crossbow became the default weapon for an entire era of warfare? While the weapon is generally slower to reload, it requires less training to use than a bow. With the right design, it can pierce steel, so instead of the archer who practices all their life, or the regal light eyes in their plate armor, such battlefields are ruled by the farmers with 2 months' training and a technological advantage. Until a shard-bearer marches through their ranks and lays waste to the whole lot," said the man in the Alethi uniform. "You know Aladar tried crossbowman ranks once. Sure, they're powerful, but slow. Best used with a full pike block for support. And if there's one man in plate on the other side, those crossbowmen draw him like rain draws vines." "Interesting words, Chain," Ray said, sighting with his hand ballista and loosing again. "Words spoken with the wisdom of the past. Excellent at teaching us to deal with the world as it has existed, and only as it has existed." He looked to Eatil, who gestured for him to continue. He set the ballista down and opened the front of the podium. A glowing sphere spren floated out, much like the Sja-anat that Shallan had discovered in her communication box. It changed shape, becoming an older man's face with mustaches. Wait, did she recognize him? "Tell them," Mraize commanded. "We found Restaris," said the floating, glowing head. "He told us, and Shallan, the details. Mishram's prison is hidden in the spiritual realm." Storms. That was Felt, one of Adolin's soldiers. Coldness enveloped Shallan, accompanied by an overwhelming sense of disconnect. Felt was a spy. Felt was a ghost blood. It was good no one was currently looking at her, because she couldn't keep the small shock spren away. All that time she'd spent trying to find the spy, an entire trip through Shadesmar, only to decide she was herself the spy, while Mraize had sent a backup. Of course he had. Storms. She felt suddenly violated, knowing Felt had been watching all along. That's the important beat, Felt continued. Ele had been chatting with Rastaris, who has all kinds of nice things to say once you press him. Ele's pretty fed up with him, since little of it seems relevant, but I'm taking notes anyway. Ele? The Sion? Wait. Thank you, Murray said. Ele and you have done well. You will be compensated. Ele was a Ghostblood too? It certainly sounded that way. On one hand, Shallan's sense of betrayal deepened, but on the other, she was relieved. The Spren had put up quite an act of being a frightened prisoner, but if that wasn't the case, then maybe Shallan didn't have to feel so bad for her. I don't want your rusting coin, Murray's, Felt said. I never wanted any part of these. Though Ele specifically asked me to tell you she wants a pony. I think she might be joking? Murray smiled. Keep the Herald captive. Further instructions will come. He made a gesture, and the face faded back into a glowing sphere, which hid in the podium again. The prison is in the spiritual realm? One of the group said, so it's impossible to reach. Hardly, Murray said. Eotil and I received intel from a very special contact yesterday, indicating that if we watched Dalinar, we would have a chance to enter the spiritual realm. We thought we might need our newest recruit to nudge him into it, but that wasn't necessary. Dalinar met with Cultivation herself, who urged him to seek Honor's power. He will be stepping into the spiritual realm soon, and Eotil and I will follow. Until we return, Zora, this cell is yours. You will take the Sion and report directly to Master Thydakar. The Azish vizier nodded. The Thaylen woman he'd called Stolen Purse folded her arms. You've never specifically left someone else in charge before. This is true, Murray said, calmly reloading his hand ballista. So you think this is dangerous? The woman continued. I know it is, Murray said. We might not return, or if we do, hundreds of years could have passed here. But we will find Mishram's prison. Wait, said Icy Tongue. Mraize, how does these help Master Thadakar's plan? Mraize didn't reply, instead sighting his target and loosing. He finally hit the red center circle. We should be working on our plan, Icy Tongue said, to transport Stormlight offworld, now that we know it can be linked of identity and transferred between realms. How does chasing down some ancient spren for the Master Thydakar's orders to provide him a renewable source of investiture? Shallan leaned forward. She'd already known that the Ghostbloods wanted the power of the Radiance and the versatility of Stormlight. That explained a great deal, such as, for example, recruiting Shallan. But there was more. Why was he so interested in Mishram? She reached into her sleeve, fingering the span reed she'd hidden in there, strapped to her arm. She sent 3 quick flashes, a warning to the others to be ready, but not to come quite yet. She was close. Mraize didn't answer. He readied his weapon for another shot, though he selected a bolt with a gemstone affixed to it near the head. What had they said? That these hand ballistas were designed to deliver a larger-than-normal payload? Oh, storms. A gemstone by itself was meaningless, but if he'd managed to get hold of the anti-stormlight that Navani had developed in Shallan's absence, he launched the bolt and hit the target straight on. The wisdom of the past is excellent at teaching us to deal with the world as it has existed, and only as it has existed. Mraize wasn't showing affection for an old, obsolete piece of technology. He was practicing with a weapon that, suddenly, could be used to kill Radiants and their spren. Once in the spiritual realm, Mraize said, Eotil and I will watch Dalinar. If we stay close to him, most likely he will lead us to the prison. How can you know that? Icy Tongue asked. Because I do, he said. Master Thydakar has approved this course, and you 8 will lead in our absence. That is all you need to know. Pardon, said Icy Tongue, but we're Ghostbloods. No secrets, Mraize. Those are the rules. Master Thydakar's actions, Mraize said, prove he does not believe in this rule. Sometimes information is dangerous and must be kept sheathed like a fine blade. Shallan leaned forward farther, but then caught something from the corner of her eye. Eatil was in motion. The short woman crossed the room and stooped beside Shallan, where she whispered something in a language that Shallan did not recognize. Dalinar sat with Navani in the garden chamber, both of them in chairs at the center, facing one another. He held her hands, vines moving around them without wind or touch. Navani said they were dancing to rhythms Dalinar couldn't hear. "Well?" he asked. "What do you think?" "I don't know, Dalinar," she said, squeezing his hands. "What happens if this works? Will I lose you?" "If I were to ascend to honor," Dalinar said, "I don't think you'd lose me. Cultivation spoke to me earlier, and according to Ash, honor often interacted with the heralds." "I don't mean losing your presence," she said. "I mean losing you, your love, your humanity. I don't want to be selfish, and we will do what the world needs. But I have to ask, what will it mean, Dalinar? And does it have to be you?" He didn't know the answer to either question. They both leaned forward, him resting his forehead on hers, contemplating, deciding. Fiercebrand wiggled out of the stones around his feet. "All this time," he whispered, "I've been trying to become a better person, Navani. Through the course of it, I've discovered terrifying truths, and I've shared them with the world. That our god died millennia ago, that humankind stole this world from those who owned it. Answers that once were easy now prove difficult. I am scared of this step, but I want to provide answers again regardless. I feel that something has been guiding me all this time, something I can't explain, something beyond honor. I know someone has to step up and do this. The contest isn't enough. There's more, and I think I'm the only one who can find out what it is. I spent a great deal of time searching for how to become a stronger bondsmith, and I think that was a step toward a greater truth of what I actually need to become." She gripped his hands, and he loved her for the way she gave his words some thought and didn't contradict him immediately, but also for the way she didn't immediately agree. Wit finally returned, slipping in. Dalinar and Navani pulled back from each other, and he could see the concern in her eyes. "Love," he said, "we don't know if this will work. We don't have to make all the decisions now." "Sometimes," she said, "it's good to ask the questions long before you need the answers. I can't help thinking that we're dabbling in things well beyond our capacity, Dalinar. The power of gods? Several of my scholars inadvertently detonated themselves just last month, working on anti-light. Now you're contemplating going somewhere that frightens even Wit." "To be fair," Wit said, leaning against the wall near the door, "a great number of things terrify me. I mean, have you considered, really considered, how insane it is that society entrusts you mortals with children? After, what, 2 decades of life, half of it spent in diapers?" Thanks for joining me, Wolfie. And your clicky clacks, right when I was about to sneeze. "Wit," Navani said, "people don't spend 10 years in diapers." "See," Wit said, "I'm roughly 10,000 years old, and I barely feel comfortable with my knowledge of how to care for an infant. It's a wonder any of you make it to adolescence." "Focus, Wit," Dalinar said. "The plan. The spiritual realm." "We're out of our depth," Navani said, "like an army struggling against an enemy with far more modern equipment." "Or a scholar trying to read complex ideas in a language she has barely studied," Dalinar added. "But we only have 8 days before I need to face Odium, and I'm certain the Stormfather is hiding things from me." The sibling agrees, Navani said. They keep pointing out the Stormfather's inaccuracies and our incorrect understanding of historical events. The goal, Wit said, is for you to relive those events, so you can find out the truth of Honor's death and uncover secrets even I don't know. He frowned. I don't know why the Stormfather would lie, though. I don't think he ever expected anyone to be able to contradict him, Dalinar said. He never thought the sibling would reawaken. He met Navani's eyes. So long as the heralds are mad and Wit is useless. Hey! The Stormfather could provide the sole narrative. We have to find the truth, Navani. We have to know what happened to Honor. Which brings us back to the central question, Navani said softly. What does it mean to replace him? Dalinar would ascend, Wit said. His mind would expand to see with the eyes of deity. The shards are not omniscient. It is relatively easy to hide things from them, but they are blessed with a near infinite capacity to understand, to see into the future and its many permutations, and to comprehend what that means. It sounds like, Navani said, you'd no longer be human. It sounds like, Dalinar said, a version of what has already happened to you with your bond to the tower. We're working through that. We could work through this. She nodded hesitantly. But I ask again, do you have to do it, Dalinar? Why must it always be you? From Yasna or Adolin, perhaps those words would have been a challenge. A question why he always put himself in the center of the issue. He found such questions ridiculous. Who else could he trust with a problem of such magnitude? Someone needed to walk the difficult roads, and, as ruler, it was his duty. That was what the Way of Kings taught. From Navani, it wasn't a challenge, but a plea. If someone was called to sacrifice, couldn't he pass the burden just this once? I can't trust this to anyone else, Dalinar said. You learn, as a general, when to send your best lieutenant and when to go yourself. He squeezed her hands. Navani, if I lose the contest of champions, we lose me. I will be Odium's, and he will bring out the Blackthorn. Whatever we can do to prevent that, I want to try, even if it means this ascension, as Wit calls it. If, after the contest, the power is changing me too much, I will find another and give it to them. Is that allowed? She asked Wit, glancing to Wit. Technically, yes, he said, but it is extremely difficult to do. Once you are a god, Dalinar, it is nearly impossible to let go. Surely it has been done, Dalinar said. Wit grew distant, a faint smile on his lips. Once. It wasn't a full ascension, but a mortal did give up the power once. It proved to be the wrong choice, but it was the most selfless thing I believe I've ever witnessed. So yes, Dalinar, it is possible, but not easy. Nothing ever is, he said. Not for us. Navani looked back at him, then nodded. Very well. Let's do it then. Together. Together? I'm not going to let you go into the realm of the gods alone, she said. You'll need a scholar to help interpret what you see in the past. Damnation, she was right. They had gone into visions together before. It was possible, but if it was going to be as dangerous as Wit implied... No, from her expression, he knew that if he suggested taking another scholar instead of her, he would bring down a wrath to make the Stormfather look like a spring squall. And justly so. For all the same arguments he made to himself about doing this personally, he needed the best at his side. That was Navani. You are wise, he said. I hate it, but you are right. We'll try this together, but we'll need to prepare the others to lead you through while we are gone. Wit thinks it will take us days to accomplish this. I can keep an eye on things here, Wit said. First, we'll have you peek into the spiritual realm and see if this even works. If you leave your bodies behind, as I'm hoping, I should be able to bring you back out if you're needed. Excellent, Navani said. How do we proceed? Well, Wit said, you once had to use a high storm and the Stormfather's powers, but you're bondsmiths now. You can open a perpendicularity and push into the spiritual realm. Once there, I suggest using connection to guide you into a specific slice of the past. I'll help you with that. You can peek into an event I've witnessed, experience it, and return so we can compare notes. If that works, we can send you on a longer journey into times I wasn't here to witness. Dalinar and Navani met each other's eyes and nodded. Great, Wit said. Let's head down the elevator and find a good location to try the experiment. Why not here? Dalinar asked. You are about to pierce through the three realms and try to throw yourselves into the spiritual realm, Wit said. If you get it wrong, you'll end up in Shadesmar. But with the force you're using, you could easily cast yourselves beyond the tower. Personally, I'd feel more comfortable if we were somewhere lower, so you had less distance to fall if things go awry. Very well, Dalinar said, standing. Let's tell Aladar and Sabariel what we're planning, just in case, and then find somewhere lower down for the experiment. The end of chapter 25.
Big one.
That was a lot longer than I remembered skimming it this morning.
A lot going down.
Halfway through
So
reading. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I forget if we got confirmation on how they plan on how the Ghostbloods plan on piggybacking off of Dalinar.
Not in chapter 25.
No?
Nope.
They said that they know that they're gonna go in, right? Where are they talking about that's such a long ass chapter. They're talking about Dalinar in a scene.
Yeah, Mraize said that he and Eotil were going to follow Dalinar into the spiritual realm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's what I was asking. Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't know how they're gonna do it yet.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Not yet. And maybe not even the next chapter. Who knows? Ooh,
I
guys.
was gonna ask.
Thing.
Is that in the next chapter? I don't know.
Let's not talk about it.
Yes. Okay.
How do we think they're gonna follow Dalinar?
Um,
I
well,
don't know.
I said last week that I think it makes sense for them to go into Shadesmar
I completely
because
agree.
going into the same room as them, well, they could go in the same room if they're able to kind of go into the ducts or like the like secret passageways that Lift uses.
Yeah. Or if
They
the
like sneak right into last second.
yeah, that could work. I'm really curious to see how it's gonna
Otherwise,
work.
yeah. What do you think?
Oh boy. If they, here it is, they're going to swallow enough glory spren so that when Dalinar gets his armor, they float through all of the realms into the spiritual realm because the glory spren pull them into the spiritual realm.
Wow, nailed it.
Confirmed. That has to happen now. There's still time to rewrite it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you reread it today, just now,
Yeah.
uh, a line popped out at me where Ito's like, we've gotten hold of an oath gate. We need to use it more to like see each other more, talking to each other more, something like that.
Yeah, one of
I feel like
the
that was a subtle nod that like, hey, we have access into getting into Shadesmar. Not that the Ghostbloods didn't have that like easily,
that's
but
fair.
I think it's almost like a reminder.
It could have also been because I don't know if it wasn't Eotil that said that it was the Azish Vizier looking dude that did.
Oh,
Um,
was it?
yeah, because they were like, we haven't all been together since before the Everstorm, and then the dude was like,
Mm-hmm.
we have Oathgates, Mraze. Why don't we get together? And
Yes,
I
that's what it
bet
was.
it was either Sanderson needed to concoct a reason and explain a plot hole, or the beta readers, or like he came up with that on his own, or the beta reader or an alpha reader was like, hey, why? Why Ghost Blood's no meat? Uh, and so he had to put that in. It just feels like it feels like it's explaining away a plot hole to me.
Yeah,
Which is
I
fine.
see where you're coming from.
Which is totally fine.
We just don't know what that plot hole is yet, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense. Do you want to talk about all the fancy knickknacks
I
and
do
the
want to
Ghost
talk about the
Blood
knickknacks.
HQ? Yeah.
So
Uh,
I went and
what
read
do you got?
the oh go ahead.
I was just saying, what do you got?
Oh, right. So the first thing I want to say is that when I first read that, I was pleased with myself to have the exact same reaction as the read along person,
Uh-huh.
where they I knew all of the things that we knew, and then there were two things that haven't been seen before. So I was like, those haven't appeared in any story, right? Or am I missing something? And then
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
That's it always makes you feel validated, like, I do remember things.
yeah. Yeah. So we have
Yeah.
Dragonsteel, uh, right?
Right.
We have a claw.
It's like, I mean, it's not like a hard like
Right.
confirmation, but it's like that's the best guess we have right now.
Yeah. Uh, and then what was it?
Which I am reading Dragonsteel Prime at the moment, and in that one, Dragonsteel was silvery, so
Yeah.
that would make sense.
They have that in Tress of the Emerald Sea. Oh,
What would happen if a Mistborn swallowed Dragonsteel?
Idolnasium.
Wait, is Dragonsteel the body of Adonasium?
That's what I think that's what we theorized like 2 or 3 episodes ago.
Is it? Okay, that makes sense. That'd be cool. I
Um,
think I like like premise spoilers for Dragonsteel Prime, so let's skip ahead 10 seconds, but I think one of the powers in it, from what I read on Coppermind, was microkinesis, which is like it's like the Stone Wards type of
okay, sure.
surges, but a little bit more OP.
Right.
So I wonder if like depending on like what Sanderson does in like the canon version, but I wonder if a Mistborn were to eat Dragonsteel, if that would like give them that ability or not. I don't know, because like they're linked in the Prime version. But that's
Okay.
just me. That's just me theorizing way too much.
Yep.
Anyways,
That's good though. That's good.
yeah.
What other we had,
The Leaf one is the one that I'm so confused
right?
about.
Right?
It
What is
kind of
that
reminds me of
from?
Yumi in a way. I don't know why.
Really?
Like it's not from Komashi, but it just like gives me that vibe because again, spoilers for Secret Project 3, but like early in that book, like the first 10%, we get this view of Yumi's world, right? And I remember
Right.
there's like a lot of wood, there's a lot of like water features, but also like pretty flowers and stuff. And I don't know, just like the leaf pulsating heat because the like ground was like super hot, if I remember correctly.
Interesting.
I don't know,
Okay.
just made me think of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking,
I almost wanna say it's from Whimsy's world because it's just like a leaf, like a flammable substance that like produces heat. Just sounds
right?
like such like a whimsical, like
It
stupid
does.
idea.
It
Yeah, I
does.
don't know.
I was
What were you about to say?
reminded I was reminded of Sunlit Man with the heat and the plants, but
Mm,
like
yes. Did the plants emit heat?
no, but
Oh,
the sun with the just the sun being intense, and we're spoiling
yeah.
everything a little
We're
bit
spoiling everything.
because so spoilers for everything, e- everything. Oops. Uh, but let's go in order here. So a silvery horn or claw from some great beast, most
The
likely
thinking
Dragon's
dragon.
Steel.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then there's a chunk of light red crystal like pink salt, though a deeper, more vibrant color that we've seen
Which we've
before,
seen. Hmm.
right? We've seen it 3 times before, once in Words of Radiance, the same chunk probably.
Wait, where do we see it in Words of Radiance?
When Shallan goes to meet the Ghost Bloods for the first, or goes to the base, Ghost Blood base for the first time. Sorry,
Mm.
burping. Jeez, I need to not drink soda while I'm recording, honestly. There's a different set of knickknacks.
Okay, I'm
There's the
just gonna take
silver
your word for
chain.
it.
Yeah, there's silver
Yeah,
chain, the rosite. There's a flower that's being preserved in alcohol or something that's most likely the Tears of Edgley from Tutelier. Uh,
makes sense.
yeah. And okay, then we get a violet. Okay, yeah. So the rosite, we've seen it in Lost Metal, Tress,
Hmm.
and Words of Radiance before. And then a violet stone egg, partly crystalline with silver swirling around its shell. In the read along, I think it was Drew hypothesized. Sanderson has said that dragons reproduce like humans do, and they make live young. But then Drew theorized, what if it depends on who's the mother and who's the father in that situation? And what if this is a dragon egg? Which I had that thought too.
Yeah,
But
it seems like the obvious answer, so it's like probably not that.
yeah, yeah,
Violet in the Cosmere is like kind of linked to Odium, isn't it?
yeah.
At least in
Void, the void light, something about
Void.
void binding. Like, is void binding just surge binding, but you're using Odium's power to do it? Use
Yes.
right? Because it's still
Yeah.
accessing the surges. They can't
Yeah.
access adhesion,
I like the idea of it being a Shodell,
right?
just because they're like the bad guys and they're like pretty much the singers, the Parshendi, and Dragonsteel Prime.
Oh,
So
really? That's cool.
yeah, that's pretty much what they are. Um, so if they remain like evil in Dragonsteel, the canon version, I could see that making sense.
I can see that making sense too. Then it goes into the fat succulent leaf that pulsed red and seemed to radiate heat. Like with the Isles of Emberdark coming out next
Yeah,
summer, that feels like it would belong there.
could
But
be a
that
tease for that.
could be a tease for that. Could
Fat
be
succulent leaf kind of feels like a rainforesty or a uh Hawaiian type, palm
it's
tree leaf.
yeah, it's really weird wording that he used here,
Hmm.
right? Because the succulent is a type of plant. So does he mean a leaf? But it also means like juicy, right? Like or sweet, succulent, coming from sucker.
Hmm.
Does he mean a really nice looking leaf that pulsed red? Or does he mean
Oh,
like an aloe leaf that's juicy, but it's not like broad like you'd see on
interesting.
Tatellier, like a palm, like or like in the jungle you were saying.
Yeah.
But
So that
then
does make me think Sunlit Man in that case, if it's like a cactus type.
right.
Yeah.
And if it is a succulent, that tells us if it's like a succulent, like the plant succulent, like plant succulents have adapted to storing water for long times and growing in arid conditions, so they store water. This thing stores heat. Does it grow in cold conditions?
Or in the water.
In the water, way up high, or perhaps
It's clearly setting up the water world. Okay. We've got the,
obviously.
the we got the desert Taldane. Now we need a water world.
I enjoyed the
These
water
pulse
world show
red, they heat the water, they give a source of light.
and
Case
food
closed.
and
Confirmed.
yes, water world,
Oh,
water
that's good.
world.
I actually would love to see him do like a water world, but yeah, I don't
We're
know.
we're getting some kind of weird avian thing.
Aren't the Shodell kind of like fishy looking
Are
in
they
like the
fishy looking?
new
I thought they just looked
turning?
like people with four arms,
There's
like
like
the
one
champ.
image on. Yeah, they kind of look like fairy-ish, kind of. I
Yeah,
don't know. Like look up literally just Shodell Cosmere. The first image is like the only one that I know of that's like semi-canon.
right.
And it kind of looks like a fairy mixed with an Atlantean.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good. That makes
I don't
sense.
know. It almost looks like a Pokemon, okay?
Got to catch them all.
Yeah,
Show
Hatcher is
them
where you
on.
at.
What?
Um, and then the
I
last one you
choose
want to read up?
you. What? Oh yeah, and then the sand. Uh,
Oh, the sand.
sand. But we've seen it before. It's white sand
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there. Boom. White sand.
Boom.
Omnibus
So yeah, a
sign.
lot of teases.
Tip
I
in.
feel like I feel like he does like to do that give you a tease for like the next project, kind of like Pixar does with their
Pixar
movies
does with
sometimes.
the
So
yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if the leaf is from Isles of the Emberdark,
Right.
but it could be from the island of the Patji, or it could be
Yeah.
some other thing along the way in that journey. I don't know. But
Yeah. We
yeah,
really yeah. And then they had some interesting developments with weaponizing anti-light.
dude,
Saw that
I'm
coming from a
scared.
mile away. Yeah,
God,
that's
every
bad.
book he makes me scared for the Spren. Stop
Right?
it.
Sprenner's supposed to be indestructible. And then you went
Yeah,
far out their eyes and now you're gonna kill him?
we must protect Bippy at all costs.
Seriously. If Bippy dies,
Riot.
we riot. We force him to rewrite the book. Like,
Why do you think Sja-anat is here?
I think we're gonna find that out very soon.
What is she? Remind me what Sja-anat does in this series, because like I get
So
her mixed up with all the
this
others.
is what Sja-anat does. Sja-anat
She,
is one of,
uh-huh,
as we know, she's one of the Unmade. She
right.
is rebellious against odium, both Razium, Rays and Teravangian. She is rebelling against. She wants freedom. Her thing is freedom. So she can enlighten Spren,
Hmm.
right? She enlightened
Hmm.
Bliss. She enlightened Toomey, which is Relane's. She enlightened those Oathgate Spren a few,
Right.
right? And she's doing it in the name of freedom.
Do we know? I don't think we do, but we know that she's enlightened to um what is it, Ash Spren, Miss Spren for the Truth Watchers? Miss Spren, right?
Miss Spren, yeah,
Yeah, so she's done two for Narn and Relane.
right.
She did like a wind Spren, I think, in
She
the
touched,
last book
yeah, she
to
touched
like
Moon Spren to
to put
distract
Odium
Toomey.
off. Right. So can she do all of the Spren, or can she just does she just have favorites?
It does seem like she could do all of the Spren, but I believe what
Okay.
she does is she asks if they want to.
Because you would think that she would do the Reachers, right? Because the Will Shapers are all about freedom. Like you'd think
Right.
she would have that relationship with them, but maybe not. I don't know. That could be a reach.
It could
But
be.
didn't Maraise or Eotil, didn't they send Shallan after Sja-anat so that they could get these Spren,
I don't remember the exact
right?
order.
What was the reason that they sent Shallan after her in the first place? I can't remember. I thought it was for the Spren.
Did they send her after Sja-anat?
Yeah, and like Words of Radiance or Oathbringer, right? Can't remember.
I don't remember either.
I have to look at it. But I would be interested to see the Ghostbloods always find a way to get like all of the magics. So
Right.
I wonder if Mraize secretly has a Sja-anat Spren. That would be sick and scary. Although I don't know why he would if he's going to be like touting these like anti-light. Just like, watch out, buddy. Got anti-light all over me. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, I
Yeah, like
mean,
what would that do? I don't know. Yeah.
freedom of choice means freedom
Like
to
he's just
go.
one trip away from exploding.
Right. He's one. Oh man.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Damn.
so Felt is a ghost blood, which she learns here. And Aele, she pieces it together. Does she does she go and think about
Sorry.
she doesn't think about Calic in this scene, right? So she doesn't put those dots together yet.
Right. She hadn't thought about that yet.
Yeah.
So this is the first time she's learning Felt and Aelay are Ghost Bloods.
Damn. I wonder if she will. Probably not.
Sneezing is not normal.
I'm pretty sure it is. It's
Nope.
at least natural.
Nope. Go listen to Dear Hank and John. Listen to all of it, and you'll understand why sneezing is not normal.
Okay. Wait, is this a real thing?
It's a real thing.
Okay. Dalinar becoming honor, maybe.
I think he's
Um,
gonna do it, and I think he's gonna give it up. He's gonna give it up to Kaladin. He's gonna be
okay,
like,
I
you know
was,
what, Kaladin, you've done enough. Here, have God power.
yeah, have some god power. I was thinking about it this morning. Like, I wonder if he's gonna kind of initiate it, right? He's gonna initiate that bond, and then last minute someone's just gonna walk in and he's just gonna like hand it off, kind of like what you're saying, and it's like, no, you do it. Kind of like what Zeth and Nightblood did in Rhythm of War, um, and Taravangian, right? Kind of like how like they were
Yeah.
all in that like scene together, and then did
Yeah.
that maneuvering
I could see that.
to make it all happen.
I'm
I wonder, like
I'm
it
to the
would actually
point.
be kind of a crazy twist if it was Lift, and like book six is just her with godhood, and she's like reflecting on her life. That would be weird. And I wouldn't want that to be the case, but it just got me like thinking this morning.
It's gonna be one of five people. It's gonna be Honor is gonna be one of five people, and it's not Dalinar.
Let's hear it.
I'm calling it now.
Do you think they're all humans?
No.
No. Okay, cool. What are your five?
So, preface, the Stormfather, who lies, so this is all based on a premise that could be false.
Right.
Stormfather said, if you're trying to seek the power, you can't get it. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. He essentially, I'm paraphrasing, but he did just say that.
Did I mean did he is it like you can't is it like the Harry Potter thing with the Sorcerer's Stone and the mirror?
It's
Is
a
it like you can't get it if you initiate the desire, kind of like what a Gavilar did?
yes.
But in this case, since it's honor going for Dalinar and initiating it with Dalinar first, Dalinar can get it. See what I mean?
So my premise that I'm going off of here is that it Dalinar has the desire to get it, and so he's not going to be able to get it.
That's kind of stupid, I think.
It is, but
Simply because the honor. Okay, finish.
Sanderson specifically stated it. He told us straight up. And how many times has he told us something straight up that we were like, no, that can't be the case. And then we're shocked when it is the case.
Fair, fair. Okay.
Okay, so who's there? Sorry, it's one of six people, not including Dalinar. There are going to be six people around and or trailing Dalinar in the visions.
Fair. Okay.
Eotil and Maraise just said that they were going to be in there.
That makes sense.
And then from the back blurb, we know Shallan, Renarin, Relaine, and Navani. Just now we learned Navani's going with him. One of those six people will be Honor.
What if Lift sneaks in at the last second because she's just like
Absolutely.
peeking in on everybody? I would love
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
That'd be so funny. That makes my theory like get a little bit more stock, but also like, please don't do that, Sanderson. Please don't.
That's why she's so
Oh,
important in the back half.
although, wait, what if we had it wrong in the beginning,
Okay.
and that we know that cultivations touch three people,
Right.
like specifically to help them grow? Taravangian with Odium makes sense. We thought it was Dalinar for honor and Lift for cultivation, but what if we had it backwards?
Okay.
What if that actually makes more sense? because Lift is a child, and children are more honorable than these greedy adults.
Okay.
And cultivation and Dalinar is all about growing and becoming better. It's his whole arc.
That is his whole arc.
I'm gonna have to think about it more, but anyone in
Yeah.
the comments or anyone listening who just thinks I'm an absolute bozo, please let me know. I would love to hear
That
it. Just be nice.
Dalinar taking cultivation makes sense. Lift taking honor is a bit more of a stretch.
Could you to take it one step further? Could you imagine if it was like a baby, like Gavanor, like get even younger with it? Could you just imagine a baby god? Oh my God.
Wow.
I hope
That,
not.
I hope
That should be so
not
funny.
either. That'd be
Oh my
something.
gosh.
That'd be something.
I just picture the baby like time god from Gravity Falls. If you know, you know. Just
Yep.
like,
Yep.
wah, I want this, but like super deep voice. Yeah, no, definitely too cartoonish there. But
A little bit.
yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious. So yeah, I think the ones you said make sense. I feel like I never consider Shallan for these big moments because like I don't consider her as a champion for the contest. I don't consider her as someone taking up a shard because we think she's been primed so heavily to be that next um Cosmere not, right? Like Chris or Naz or Kelsier,
Right.
um or Hoyd, right? So yeah, it's interesting. I don't consider her much for that. Relaine and Renarin, I think, are going to be too important for the back half. And Navani's a wild card. Navani's another one I don't consider for those things, but probably should start. So yeah, I don't know. I think those are. I mean, you're right. Like those are the six going. Those are the six likeliest people to take up the shard. It would be terrifying if Eotil or Mraize ended up becoming God.
That would be crazy. That
But
would
I
be.
also wonder if like just like how Odium is able to corrupt Tanavast's heart, which we know is quite filled with good intentions, would Honor corrupt Mraize or Eotil for good? I don't know. That's
If honor
a
is
thing to
good.
ponder. I mean, isn't he?
I don't
Honor,
know. I don't know. Can a force of nature be good?
yes.
Yes. Look,
Honor,
Griff
the
joined us.
definition.
I did. I've been in here for a little bit.
See, honor the one of the first definitions of it is adherence to what is right or to a conventional standard of conduct. So I would feel like honor is definitely leaning towards good.
Whose standard of conduct?
The conventional standard of conduct.
Oh, okay. So they
Conventional.
Right, but whose conventions are we basing that off of?
they surveyed every
Good
living thing
question.
in the Cosmere and got a plurality.
They surveyed all the glowing leaves, all the
Boom.
succulent
All the
leaves.
succulent leaves. Those
I
succulent.
feel like there's only two that would make sense, right? Conventional standard of conduct for Roshar or for how Adonalsium as a god saw it,
Yeah, that's fair.
right?
That's accurate.
It's also like the synonyms are honesty, uprightness, ethics, morals. I feel like it's good.
Yeah.
That's it's a
Yeah.
question for that guy. I always forget his name. From The Good Place. I don't know if you saw that. Um,
Chidi?
Chidi had to go in. Yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a question for Chidi.
That's a question for Chidi.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think that honor was good per se. I think that honor is very much like preservation, where we would consider it good for the most part, but even preservation liked the Lord Ruler because the Lord Ruler was everlasting because of what he had done. Well, the interplay of gold.
Right. That's fair.
Mhm.
So, like, I think that honor would probably mostly be good, yes, but I think that there are still some places where the morals would maybe not hold up in the same way that we might hold them.
That's true. That is true.
Question. What
Yes.
are the lingering mysteries surrounding the Way of Kings, the in-world book? Because I feel like they keep bringing up that book a lot in these first 2 days.
Well, that's because Sanderson likes to bookend series with important books. And so he's trying to
Okay.
beat us over the head with the Way of Kings to make sure that we understand it was important. So
But
there's
remember
that.
like those first few chapters as well? Like there was just a lot of I mean, I get like this is the end of the first sequence and
Yeah.
we're kind of it's kind of like, previously on Roshar, like just remember like, these characters are sad, like I don't know, just like Kaladin's journey, Shallan's journey, Dalinar's journey. Like it's been bringing up a lot of reminders for that first book, but also the Way of Kings, the in-world book itself, has been coming up a lot, and
Right.
like they've referenced Rhythm of War and Oathbringer like a couple times. I don't think they've mentioned Words of Radiance, um, but Way of Kings like far outweighs in terms of like the number of references, and I'm just curious as to if there's any mysteries lingering that we can expect to get answered in this book or not.
I think there's a question about who actually wrote it and
Oh,
who
like it's not Nohadon or who Nohadon
like
is.
yeah, like who Noadon is
Oh, okay.
in specifically in history. And I
Right.
expect we're gonna be able to see that it was actually Honor
Yeah.
all along. It was probably Honor. It always was, always has been. Uh, and I don't know. That's my guess.
So they're gonna do an experiment, right? With
Yeah.
going.
And they're gonna go into Wit's already known vision of what had happened or
Okay, true.
happened in Wit's
Right.
past,
Right.
which
Because it would
could
be interesting if they went to one of the flashbacks that the visions that they gave Dalinar, right, in the first book,
right,
and see like where the Stormfather lied.
right. That
That
would
would
be
be
good.
interesting. But yeah, I guess going to see what Wit. I wonder if Wit was even there. Like, did Wit meet Nohadon? Has that been
Wit,
asked?
yeah, so Wit claimed that he was on world before Honor died and then left Roshar. Honor died and he was sad that he wasn't here.
Right,
So
but was he ever there when Nohadon was alive?
I don't know.
I feel like we don't know for a reason.
We might find out soon.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It would be.
Yeah. I feel like seeing how Honor died and what all went down with that is going to be one of the biggest holy craps in this whole series.
It probably
But
is.
I'm so excited.
So am I. Let's
It's going to
get
be
to
like that
the
oath.
say
Yeah, the
again.
next chapter.
Yeah, let's get to the next chapter.
Absolutely. Griff, is there anything else you had?
No, I don't think so. I think that was pretty much it. I was honestly, between the two chapters, I was a lot more interested in the second one.
Same.
Okay. Sounds good. See you guys in a bit.
See ya briefly. Once again, I will be limiting the editing so that this episode goes out as soon as possible so that you have the opportunity to shop to your heart's content on the first of the annual light days. Chapter 26, Hunting the Hunter. I continued on my way, contemplating dust and the nature of desertion, for I, as king, had walked away from my duties, and it was difficult for me. Had I not renounced a throne the Almighty had granted, and in doing so undermined my very own words? Was I abandoning that which was divinely given me? From The Way of Kings, fourth parable. Shallan stared at Eotil. The woman's eyes seemed distant behind that mask, and strangely human, as if the mask were some beast that had swallowed a person. Eotil repeated her comment in, presumably, their native tongue. In a panic, Shallan reached for the span reed in her sleeve, ready to call the others. Only she hadn't actually learned anything yet. How were the Ghostbloods going to sneak through to the spiritual realm with Dalinar? Why were they so interested in one of the Unmade? They'd already made contact with Sja-anat. Wasn't that enough? There was no helping it. If Eotil hadn't been suspicious before, she would be when she got no reply. Shallan gripped the span reed. But Vale whispered, "You can do this, Shallan. Try." Shallan couldn't understand what Eotil had said, but what was her body language saying? Eotil nodded to the side, toward the third masked off-worlder. Her words had been short and terse, maybe a question, more likely an order. So, risking it, Shallan gave a curt nod. That worked, and Eotil scurried back toward the doorway in the eastern wall, Shallan following. The third assassin met them, and they huddled together, with Eotil speaking quickly in their own language. In the center of the room, Mraize hinted to the others what Shallan had guessed, that with some minor tweaks, the hand ballista would be very useful in coming years. Shallan couldn't pay attention to him, for she had now gotten herself into a conversation with not merely one person speaking another tongue, but two. They'd expect a response other than a nod. She had to escape the conversation without making a scene. "Find an excuse," Vale whispered, "for not paying attention." Yes, distractibility was a universal human foible. Unfortunately, there wasn't much in the room, just the targets, Mraize and his crew, 4 bleak stone walls. Wait, the doorknob. Silvery, polished, reflective. Being crouched down together as they were put it near eye level. Shallan fixated on it, waiting until the others noticed her distraction. "Aline," Eotil said to Shallan, "Aline, wat ist erst missen?" Shallan pointed at the doorknob and spoke, whispering a word that would be the same regardless of language. "Sja-anat." The whisper hopefully masked her voice. Eotil hissed softly, pushing Shallan aside to look closely at the doorknob. When she saw nothing, she grunted and, ignoring their conversation, stalked toward Mraize. The other foreigner glanced at Shallan, so she shrugged, then leaned in to study the doorknob. He moved off after Eotil. Shallan calmed her nerves, avoiding drawing a spren this time. Eotil had taken the bait and hadn't seemed to find anything too irregular about Shallan. Unless she was telling Mraize she was an imposter right now. Maybe it was time to call the others. Shallan reached again for her span reed, but a moment later a shadow moved across the doorknob, and then Sja-anat appeared as she had earlier, a jet-black female figure with white holes for eyes. "I wondered," she said in Shallan's mind, "how you would manage without speaking her tongue, Shallan. That was clever." "So you do know it's me," Shallan whispered. "It is difficult for mortals to distinguish one soul's flame from another, but I am not mortal. Are you going to reveal me? As you just revealed me, perhaps." "Whose side are you on, Sja-anat?" Shallan whispered. "Truly, what is your game?" "Game, Shallan. I fight for survival. Odium will rip through anyone, anything to get what he wishes. Thousands of years have proven he cares nothing for me or my children. Honor is a coward who always hated us, destroyed us, betrayed us, and all cultivation does is watch. I am on the side of preserving a world for my children. You should not fear my side, Shallan. You should embrace it. If there is room for my children, there will be room for yours." Eotil returned, Mraize tailing her. Again Shallan gripped the span reed but held her nerve. Sja-anat did not hide but persisted, small but distinguishable, as a reflection in the doorknob looking up at Eotil. "Like, stay here," Eotil said in Alethi. Entertain the others. She opened the door, grabbing the doorknob despite the reflection there. Mraize followed, as did Shalon, assuming that Leke was the other masked figure. Shade and the actor were gone from this little alcove. It was darker in here, where the sole light was provided by chips, painted on one side, to shine only on Mraize's treasures. There, Beatil said. My trophy case. I see her reflection. Wait, her trophy case? It wasn't Mraize's? Beatil pulled a mirror out on wheels from behind one of the cabinets. Shalon closed the door to the other room softly, then stayed back, trying not to draw attention. Sja-anat appeared in the mirror, all slender smoke and magnetic eyes. Why are you here? Beatil demanded. You're supposed to be watching the bondsmiths. Have they begun the process? My children watch, Sja-anat said, her voice tinny and small, as if she were communicating down the length of a long hallway. The sibling is awake. They are not easy to fool, even for me. I myself would draw attention. This isn't what you told us, Beatil said. The timing will be tight. We need to get into Shadesmar and be ready to enter Dalinar's perpendicularity as soon as it opens. You will not miss your opportunity, Sja-anat said, though I question your eagerness to be lost in that place. You said our spren could guide us, Mraize said, stepping closer to the mirror. You said they understood that realm. Our spren? Our spren? Shalon backed up a pace, pressing against the cold stone wall. Mraize and Beatil had spren? They were radiant? That's why they were so eager to meet Sja-anat, Vale said. Sja-anat's requirement for those who bonded her children were different from those of ordinary radiants. Storms. Shalon had been key to facilitating Sja-anat meeting with the Ghostbloods. She'd known all along that her flirtatious half-commitment to the Ghostbloods was dangerous. Here was the proof. Why had she let it go on for so long? You were confused, Radiant said. Far from home, and you thought Yasna was dead. You needed to feel a part of something. Do not be too hard on yourself. Shalon made many mistakes, yes, but she hoped she was learning from them. Today, she stepped forward, closer to Beatil and Mraize, hoping to catch signs of their spren, to tell what orders they had joined, or if they had bonded Sja-anat's children, were they actually Radiants? Renarin was, but he'd chosen to take the title for himself. In her shock, she'd missed some of what Sja-anat was saying, assurances that her children could offer guidance in the spiritual realm. There is only so much that can be done for mortals, the Unmade continued. Like a fish suddenly on the land, you will be in a place that is hostile to your existence. My children will guide you, but you still may not return. We will go regardless, Mraize said softly. And I am glad, Sja-anat said. One last warning, however. I do not think you will find an ally in my sister. Mishram is not fond of humans. We are not seeking an ally, Beatil said. Tell us when Dalinar starts getting ready so we may prepare. As you wish, Sja-anat said. My children say he is talking to his advisors. He is close, though. What of Shalon? Mraize asked. Does she hunt us? She does, Sja-anat said, and did not look toward Shalon standing behind them. Shalon didn't spot a spren on Mraize's clothing or shoulder, but she did note the quiver of crossbow bolts at his side. Specifically, one had a gemstone affixed with white-blue light that warped the air around it. Shalon hadn't seen the anti-light, but Wit had told her about it, and she recognized it from the description. Mraize, as ever, had worked quickly and efficiently. So far as Shalon knew, there was barely a tiny bit of the stuff in Urithiru carefully locked away. Yet, Mraize had already stolen some. She couldn't help but be impressed. I'm worried Shalon will interfere, he said. The girl is distracted, Beatil said. You fixate upon her too much, Acolyte. We made the proper threats. Her attention will be on protecting and watching her loved ones. Yes, Bobsk, Mraize said. They're human, Vale whispered. Fallible. Remember that. Eotil waved Mraize off, and he bowed to her. It felt strange to see him defer. He had always seemed so in command, though there was a level of self-control to his obedience. Mraize did not complain or seem upset to be dismissed. He walked with his head held high, opening the door to reveal the Ghostbloods practicing with his oversized crossbow. Sja-anat vanished, and Shallan followed Mraize, trying not to be trapped with Eotil. Unfortunately, the woman put her hand up to stop Shallan. Something is wrong with him, Eotil said softly. I do not think he has been replaced with a duplicate, but I do question his loyalty to our cause. Thankfully, the words were in Alethi, perhaps because she'd just been speaking to Sja-anat in that tongue, and continued on momentum. Perhaps it was because in this room, away from the others, she didn't worry about being overheard. Or perhaps with Sja-anat around, she wanted to be? Eotil still focused on Mraize, thoughtful. I've spent so long training him. It is natural for him to want his own acolytes, but he thinks solely of his own advancement, not the greater purpose. Shallan needed to push. She needed answers. She found herself speaking in a whisper. Thydakar's purpose. Master Thydakar will see eventually, Eotil said. He is smarter than you give him credit for. He works to protect his homeland above all else, but once we find Mishram for my purposes, he will see. Master Thydakar can only protect his land if the shards can be controlled. Will this fit your plans as well? Stay silent or speak? Which was more suspicious? Eotil looked at her, waiting. Shallan sweated and tried giving a nod again. That's it, Eotil said. You've been so... She focused on Shallan, eyes widening behind her mask. Shock spread and exploded around her. Damnation. That was it. Eotil lunged and Shallan caught the hand, expecting a knife. But Eotil wasn't attacking. She was reaching for Shallan's hood, and in her deflection, Shallan knocked it aside, revealing her wig. Eotil hissed, then shouted, scrambling backwards. Radiance! We are discovered! The end of chapter 26.
Oh, snap. I hadn't read this one yet, so that's some
Shoot, you
quick
had?
confirmation.
I was wondering
No.
why you were getting so close to, like, what there had been
No.
saying.
No. I skimmed like the first half of the Shallan part of the first chapter this morning,
Yeah.
but I hadn't read anything else yet.
Oh,
That's
fine.
crazy, dude. She says radiance too, so like do they all have one?
I think what she meant by that was radiance. Not radiance. Hey, we're being attacked, but
Oh, so not like Avengers Assemble, more like
Yeah.
Avengers.
yeah, Avengers. That's
Okay.
right.
Yeah. That's how it read to me as well. It
Yeah.
was a warning cry.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay, that makes sense.
However, so here's the two things that I found interesting. One was the use of the term "bops" because that tells me that these people have a Russian accent.
Well, no, they're Thalen.
Is Bobsk Russian?
I believe so, or at least it sounds like a derivative of a word in Russian, which I think means grandmother or something like that.
It's the same as with Risen and her Babsk. Forget his name.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Is that?
Babushka?
Let me say this. It sounds like a Russian word.
It does. It does.
It
Yeah,
does. But
but
Mraize and Eotil are from Thalen. No, Thalen.
Yeah, that's
Mraize-
fair.
Mraize is, yeah. Mraize was raised. What is Thalen?
Well, Eotil would be too, wouldn't she? Oh no.
No,
No,
Eotil
you're
was
right.
born in Silverlight.
You're right.
Yep. And she's
Yeah.
Although
Sagittarian ancestry.
another thing from the first chapter that I forgot to actually mention was the idea that they seem to have, if I was reading it or if I was listening to it correctly, it sounds like they've cracked the code of how to move
Yes.
investiture off world
Yep.
Mhm.
tied to identity. So that's kind of a big one.
That's huge. That was Kelsier or Thydakar's whole
Yep.
goal.
and
Yeah.
it explains why they're able to do it in, at least to me, it explains why they're able to do it in, um, is it Lost Metal? Is that the last of the
Yeah,
Wax and Wayne
Yeah.
series? Yeah.
it is.
Hmm.
So I think that firmly also puts, I mean, like, I think there was evidence for it before, but I think this firmly puts the Wax and Wayne series as at least a majority of it happening post um, Stormlight
Yes.
Archives, or at least
Yes.
Stormlight Archives Era 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Well,
So,
Stormlight Archive is in Era 2, but it's before the events of Mistborn Era 2.
Right.
yeah, that's a, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like
So,
even the second sequence will still be in Era 2 because it's only like 10, 15 years jump.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Actually kind of crazy how such a huge series is only like takes place in like 2 decades, maybe.
Yeah,
Depends how many jumps there are in the back half, but it's a
that's
very
true.
influential series for the Cosmere, and it doesn't span a whole lot of time.
Right. Because it'll probably be laying the groundwork for a bunch of the
Yeah.
space, right? So we'll
Hmm.
still see the outcomes and get a lot of information in the back half.
Yeah. I think one of my, sorry, that's like a weird tangent, but one of the biggest worries I had when Sanderson said, hey, When in Truth is not going to be like the end game, like Infinity War end game of Stormlight. It's going to have a lot of um dangling like cliffhangers, right?
Right.
Um that we're not going to get answers for like how long is it going to be? Like 6+ years until the next book.
Something like that.
Um yeah, it's like a long time and it made
Yeah.
me a little upset at first when I heard it, but I think he has a plan in that like a lot of the Ghost Blood stuff. And the more we read of this, the more I have conviction in this thought is that Mistborn Era 3 is going to use a lot of what is set up here while still giving like crumbs
Okay.
for what could happen in the second sequence. That
Yeah.
it'll kind of feel like it won't feel like a long time because we'll be getting more and more bits of info to fill in the gaps for that 10 to 15 year jump, right?
Yeah. That's a good tangerine.
Tangerine.
also, we're going to get the prose version of White Sand on top of that. And I wonder if
Oh,
Sanderson is going to keep following his idea of gloves off, and if we're going to be getting some more info about the Cosmere in that book.
Yeah. I
we better
definitely think
be.
so. We should pay very special attention during the next few Q&As because the random like bits that he gives us, like the grand apparatus thing last year, I think we're going to see that at Isles of Amardark because he was working on that at the time.
Okay.
And I think anything that he's just like, oh, by the way, this is a thing, like that's something that we can expect to see in the White Sand, the prose version.
Okay. Bet.
That's my thought. My buddy Zeth of the Cosmere Academy, check him out. But he made a great note that Sanderson was very close-lipped on dragons in the Cosmere, and then randomly he just started answering a bunch of questions like through over a bunch of Q&As like throughout the next like year or two. And then what do you know? We get the reveal for Secret Project 5 and there's a dragon in it.
Dragons. Yeah.
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 I think it was that project. But it's just like he answers stuff that he's thinking about.
Right.
So,
Sense.
yeah.
Makes
And I think a large part of why he is closed-lipped on these things is because he doesn't want to say anything on it until he's like until he knows what is what in the
right.
Cosmere,
Right.
right?
Until
He
he
doesn't want to trip
canonized
up
it
and
in his own head. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So, we'll see.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really want to know what Radiant Orders Mraize and Eotil are.
I
Or
know.
fake
What do you
Radiant
think?
Orders.
What do you think?
Um,
I'm gonna guess Will Shaper just because of that. Because she is about freedom, and we haven't seen her do it. 'Cause I
Yeah,
don't think she's gonna do more Truth Watchers. That doesn't really make sense to me. Although, if they're trying to go into the spiritual realm, that might be the best one, right?
might
Because of
be.
the futures.
No, well, it'd either be that or else color if they're trying to get into different dimensions.
Right, but we think
Yeah.
they might just piggyback off of Dalinar's
That's their plan.
perpendicularity.
That's their plan is to be in Shadesmore and piggyback
Oh,
off.
right. Right.
So yeah, if they're
So,
trying to get into Shadesmar, it would either be Will Shaper or else color because those are the two with the transportation surge.
That's true.
oh, so they
Although
can
we
get
also
out,
know
so they
that
could get out of the spiritual realm. Is that what you're saying, Griff?
Well, they also need to
well,
get
or
through
if they
Shadesmar.
yeah, if they need to get to Shadesmar to piggyback off of Dalinar's trip to the spiritual realm, then they're
Oh,
going
I
to
see.
then using transportation to get into Shadesmar from the physical realm.
But if they have access to an oath gate, do they need that?
But then,
Well,
no,
I mean, the Oath Gates
Hmm?
are Inkspren, and we also know that the Oath Gates aren't necessarily completely reliable right now. We don't
That's
know how
true.
many of them have been corrupted, but
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
they may.
You've sold me.
But again, I mean, like honestly, I don't. Like you said, Will Shaper could also be equally an option because they also have the
Yeah,
transportation
we haven't seen what
surge.
that
So
surge looks like for them in full yet, right? Like we
yeah, the
know
Will
that
Shaper.
Yasna can do that. Right. We know Yasna can
Yeah,
do it. I think we've just seen Venli like peek in, right? Yeah. She's progressed more with the like the rock surge where she can like move through rock, I
cohesion.
think. Yeah,
yeah,
cohesion.
and we also know that each surge is slightly different based on the radiant order you're a part of. So there's no guarantee that the one for the
Right.
will shapers will function the same way that it does for the else callers.
Right. Um what is their plan to get out of the spiritual realm?
One of them becomes God.
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
You
it's
can
not
go home. You
necessarily
guys F off.
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the simplest exit plan, but it is an effective one. I won't deny.
Because the
Uh,
else callers, they can only go to Shadesmar, right? They can't go to the spiritual realm.
We don't know.
We don't, do we, huh?
I feel like
Shut it,
I feel
Jess.
like
yeah,
they
the
I'm
only
would
so
be
thing
able
that
to.
we
scared.
know is
Oh.
that they can go from the physical realm to Shadesmar, but could they potentially go to the spiritual realm as well? Maybe. Um, I will say that they do talk about the fact that their spren would be able to guide them, which presumably means that they'd be able to also guide them out, maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, it really depends. There's several unclarified things regarding the connection. Like, are the Spren able to guide them because the Spren could feel like the bondsmith's presence? Is that what they're talking about? In which case,
Or because they're slivers of divinity.
right. Or
Also, don't Sja-anat's spren come with an additional surge or something? Am I
there's like
remembering that correctly?
it it's weird.
Well, we know that the Mistspren can give like glimpses into the future.
They use
But
illumination for they make really weird lights that don't make any sense, and then they do like foreseeing the future as stained glass.
right, but we don't know if that's a Mistspren Truth Watcher thing or if that's just being an enlightened thing,
Right,
right?
right.
We
Because
don't know.
So
seeing
what
Okay.
the
I'm
future
wondering,
is of the void or whatever. So
Right.
so
Ah.
I'm curious if things like Sja-anat's else color spren would have additional functionality.
Alex, you've read the RPG beta. What do you think?
um
Is there anything like that that would make sense of it?
that's a negative Ghost Rider.
Oh, you know, it was the alpha that I heard that the alpha had like every single surge and even the ideals like the oaths, and then they took it out.
I don't know if they I don't think they had all of them. They definitely didn't
No,
have
no.
all
So
of
someone was
the
in like the
alpha.
early alpha for it, and like they had saw all of it.
I was in the alpha.
Were you alpha or beta?
I was alpha.
I don't know. Maybe
I
he's
think
lying
they
then.
they added
I
more
don't
for
think he
the
would lie.
beta. They added more for the beta, but they didn't even have like some of the orders. They didn't even have the first ideal, like or not,
Weird.
like the second ideal. I mean,
I had heard that they had all of them,
I expect
and
they
they told
had.
me what one of them was, and I can't even remember it, which is just I had the worst memory. It
That's
was like the
okay.
Edge Dancer, like fourth or something. I can't remember, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
Um,
and then if you haven't seen the latest on that, above the third ideal, so for the fourth, or even for some of the thirds, they're like it should be along these lines, but the GM and the player need to come up with it. So,
oh, maybe that's what he was saying.
yeah. So
I
the
think it
second
was
ideal,
something like the fourth ideal has to have some agency. Like you have to have a way to like kind of like Zet's like his mission, right? You have to have like a mission, like an agency to like fulfill your previous odes. Like you said you're gonna do these things, now do it. It's kind I thought it was something like that.
we're gonna find
So
out
like
together next spring.
yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious if Sja-anat's other friend that she had, like, if they had additional functionality apart from just the Truth Watcher one.
We've only seen the Truth Watcher one so far, so
Right. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying is that I wonder if there's something about the Else Color and or Will Shaper from Sja-anat that might have additional functionality for getting them into or out of the spiritual realm.
might
Yeah. Could be. That would be in line with what we've seen so far, sort of kinda.
sort of kind of. Yeah.
If the else yeah, I mean if the truth watchers are people that are trying to learn as much as possible, and then the enlightenment gives you an edge to learn about the potential futures, and else colors are all about like not all about it, but they are the most transportable ones, aside from maybe the will shapers.
Right.
Then maybe the edge would be that you can also maneuver a little bit out of the spiritual realm as well.
Might be.
It'd be interesting at the it'll be interesting to see regardless.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
I'm curious.
I thought there was enough to track with just the 10 surges and like the different orders, but man, I think the enlightenment in there is
There's actually, yeah, it's
oh
actually
my
30
God.
connections in there.
I
Not just
need, I need to start taking
Mhm.
notes. Well, Sanderson has said there's like 10 magic systems on this world, so is this one of them? I don't know.
There's 10? Is that what he said?
He said there's 10. But he also said like what do you count as a magic system? Does each surge count as a magic system?
Oh,
And to that I would say no.
that's fair.
But
I mean, they all function the same in that
I mean,
they're powered by Stormlight. However, I could say that the abilities of the singers are different, of course, from the abilities of the Radiants, even though they have similarities.
Right, they're surge binding, but it's different. Wait, I mean, but like we're talking like there's Farukami on it and Allomancy. Somebody's doing Allomancy stuff,
and hemalurgy,
right? So those three, and then
there's three.
surge
Well,
binding
that's
via
that's
Stormlight,
Scadrial.
surge binding via Lifelight, surge binding via Void Light.
Yeah, I think just surge binding would be one.
No, there's three,
Um,
We
man.
also know that there are some.
Soul casters might be one.
Well, I
Maybe.
was more thinking, what are the ones from Cell?
Oh,
Uh,
Seons,
The coders,
no, not
the
Sions.
rune,
Elantrians,
The
get the
shining
runes, the
dudes.
forging.
Elantrians.
Yeah, the Elantrians. We know that at least one of them is on the planet. Now, whether or not he has access to his abilities is it
Oh,
seems
right.
not,
You're
but
right.
Oh,
they
who?
are.
Galadon.
Oh, did he stay
Yeah,
on Roshar?
Yeah, he's on Roshar. He's in the
Oh, he's
interlude.
still there.
Yeah.
he's in one of the interludes.
He's in the
Wait,
interlude.
was he?
He not one that we've read.
Well, oh, the Way of Kings. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that's what I was
yeah. It
asking.
was. It was
yeah,
Is he
the
but
Way of
still?
Kings.
Did he
but
stay in Roshar after that?
And yeah, Sanderson read at the 2023 Dragonsteel. He read one that had
Oh, right,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. Yeah, he was in that.
Major spoilers, everybody.
Major, major
Also,
spoilers.
we have uh Zyle with
Oh
um
yeah. Okay.
who uses the
Breath.
whatever, I don't remember what the Warcraft or
Warcraft
Warbreaker, yeah, Warcraft Warbreaker one is called. I don't remember what.
breaths. It's just breaths.
Oh yeah,
So
breaths.
one of
He used breaths in his
AVR.
fight against uh Kaladin. So
We've named 10
yeah.
if you include AVR and then the surges being three to or
But
actually
that's not specific to Roshar. Like I'm saying, like he had said
there's
it
10
originates
specific
on
to
Roshar.
oh what Amians
That's what he had said though. I mean,
you
and we're not
okay
going to get all of them in these first 5 books.
okay, so here's the question: are the abilities of the Spren different than the abilities of the Radiant? Because we obviously know that the Lux Spren have something to do with the Great Shells being able to move,
that's true
and I wonder if that's considered a separate magic system.
probably
Here's what we have confirmed: Surge Binding, Fabrials, Void Binding, and the Old Magic.
oh
But there
I
was a
didn't
word,
really
Brandon.
consider Fabrials a
Someone else
magic
can
system.
find it. But Sanderson said I thought he had said that there was like 10.
I guess it makes sense if Fabrials were a magic system, although I didn't necessarily consider them such.
yeah I mean they are using Spren and metals in various ways to do various
Yeah, and they do have different effects than say the Surge Binding, so that does make sense. It actually, yeah, that makes sense that they are a separate magic system.
thunderclasts are their own magic system confirmed just kidding is there
Was
anything
the
else?
Dawn Shard considered a magic system?
Maybe but that didn't originate on Roshar.
No, but it's on Rosharn. Well, yeah. Hmm. I mean, technically, neither did Surge Binding.
But using Stormlight for surge binding.
Yes, that did.
Yeah.
Okay, the word of Brandon I thought of that I think I found, but Sanderson just postulates like, well, what do you count as a magic system? Are the 10 different surges their own, or is it just one? And then he also mentions creating Fabrials and the old magic. I don't see void magic or void binding in here, in this word of Brandon, but I think there was also like a clip from one of his videos. Might have been a podcast episode. I can't remember.
Oh.
I vividly remember him saying, I thought 10. I could be wrong. But yeah, if you count the surges as 10 different ones, then technically there are 10.
Huh. Good to
But I
know.
would say they're one because they're fueled by the same thing. So I don't know.
Right. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, but I mean, Stormlight's just investiture. Like you could or you could potentially fuel the surges off of
No,
Door as well if you had them.
I'll say no because well, actually you have a point. I was gonna say no because the other ones have different rules that they follow as well. Like Elantrians have to know the runes. Um the biochroma, right, requires color. There's like different rules and such. Um but I don't know, the surge binding is kind of instinctual for the Radiants after a while, right? Like
Right.
it's not something that Kaladin is like, okay, I'm gonna do like this physics. He just does a lashing. So I don't know.
I wonder if that has to do though with them. I wonder if there's some assistance from the Spren they bond with on that front.
Yeah.
I'm not
People are
saying
getting
there
very
is or there isn't.
technical. Yeah, no. It could be either way. I have no idea. Cool. Did you guys want to talk about any of the read along stuff?
Yeah. The epigraphs seem to be talking about Dalinar abdicating his throne.
Yes. Can you read them again? I forget. I remember the
I
first one.
I would love to. Give
Okay,
me
let's do it.
give me 3 minutes. Just kidding.
Three?
Just kidding. J
Ain't
K.
nobody got time for that.
I know. I'm scrolling. Okay, here we go. The Almighty has given us the limbs to move and the minds to decide. Let no monarch take away what was divinely granted. The heralds also taught that all should have the sacred right of freedom of movement to escape a bad situation, or simply to seek a brighter dawn. Yeah, okay. So that guy was around when the heralds broke their pact and was like, yeah, they're heroes for it. And then the second one is, I continued on my way, contemplating dust and the nature of desertion, for I, as king, had walked away from my duties, and it was different for me. Had I not renounced a throne the Almighty had granted, and in doing so, undermined my very own words? Was I abandoning that which was divinely given me?
So is this Dalinar, is this teasing Dalinar abdicating the throne or abdicating Honor's seat?
¿Por qué no las dos?
Um,
He's abdicating
sure,
love.
but hasn't he already kind of abdicated it? Like, or I guess he was talking about like if he dies, then he wants Kaladin to take it over, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things where if he ascends, he's no longer going to be. I mean, like, I think honestly, if he ascends, he's no longer going to be a bondsmith. He's going to be
A
Honor's
Smith
vessel.
Unchained. Sorry. Honor's vessel, yeah.
No, but I mean, he's going to be Honor's vessel at that point, which probably means that his nature to the Radiance and Urithiru and his bond to the Stormfather are all going to be pretty much up in the air at that point.
Literally, because he'll be above.
Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh.
But he might if he ingests the sliver of honor that is in the Stormfather, will that actually make him Storm Daddy?
We can only hope.
Right?
I mean, it will be interesting that instead of the Stormfather being a partner to Dalinar at that point, it would become more like the fact that he would be subservient to Dalinar, which actually might explain why he would become a blade for Dalinar in the contest. Though there's no guarantee that'll happen. I still think it's one of my biggest theories is that the Stormfather will take the form of a blade for that particular contest.
I think the Stormfather is going to become the form of a blade for that contest, but he's going to be wielded by Odium's champion because the Stormfather is going crazy and refuses to help Dalinar. So
Interesting. That would be a twist, I won't deny.
yeah, and Dalinar's like, I'm honor now, bitches, so I'm gonna take the wind and the storm and make a new storm because I still think there's gonna be a new storm, and that's how it's gonna
Three
happen.
storms.
No, they're gonna combine because it says in the first epigraphs the wind and the heralds disappeared and there was a new storm. Um, and I am taking that at face value and correlating the two together as the wind was used to make a new storm. That was not as horrifying.
So are we then going so but it doesn't say anything about the previous two storms disappearing.
Um, huh, I think it did. Did it not?
Did it?
Oh man, there's like 20 chapters to go through. I'm not.
Is this epigraph also teasing the heralds leaving like the last epigraph said?
I thought this one was like talking about how they broke their oath.
Well, this one says the heralds also taught that all should have the sacred right of freedom of movement to escape a bad situation. And didn't the day one epigraph say at some point that the heralds had like left or something?
This is what the day one epigraph said, because
Okay,
I remembered that I put it into a Word document altogether.
sick.
I should have known I was being watched. All my life the signs were there. I first knew the wind as a child during days before I knew dreams. What need has a child of dreams or aspirations? They live and love the life that is. The wind told me, before she vanished, that it was the change in Odium's vessel that restored her voice. I wonder, perhaps it is the new storm making people begin to reconsider that the wind is not their enemy. I have read that in the ancient days the wind often spoke to both human and singer. It would then mean that the wind stopped talking not because of odium, but because of people who began to fear her, or to worship the storm instead. As a historian, I find such nuances relevant. As a philosopher, I find them enticing. Regardless, the events surrounding the cleansing of Shinovar are of specific relevance, and I am doing my best to record what I can discover of the wind's own words regarding them. Though now that the wind and heralds have vanished, I have only two sources who can speak of these events. They are my witnesses. However, the wind did not think like a person does. This should not surprise anyone who has familiarity with a spren, though such things are less common now than they once were. Her memory was keen, but her interpretation and explanation of that memory could be fanciful. Those days, though, I believe that she was deliberate, concerned, and focused. She did not see the
Okay.
future, but she somehow knew it anyway.
So the part where it says the heralds had vanished.
Yeah.
The wind and the heralds had vanished, right? Or the
Yep.
storms and the heralds.
The
Yeah,
wind,
so that's what I was
yeah, the wind and the
that's what I
herald
was
vanished.
right. So that's what I was referencing when it says that the heralds have the sacred right of freedom of movement to escape a bad situation. So if they did lose, it sounds like Nohadon or whoever's writing this parable from the Way of Kings is saying that you have the right to leave.
Right.
Well, and that makes sense because,
Interesting.
yeah.
I think somebody in the read along, Drew, maybe, or somebody said, or whoever did the epigraph said, maybe it's going to give the opportunity for whichever group loses the ability to leave Roshar as part of the law of the Alethi law. Um, but
Oh,
Hmm.
I don't know if that was a particularly important point yet. But I mean, we see a Radiant out in the wild in Sixth of the Dusk and now Shadows of Emberdark or Islands of Emberdark. Um, so
I mean, yeah, that
It
makes
also
sense. And
it,
also, on top of that, I feel like we know that, traveling from one planet to another is easier through Shadesmar. So the Else Callers and the Will Shapers would definitely be instrumental to that if they want to go from one planet to another.
could be,
can the else colors take others with them
believe so.
or the
Yeah,
Wishers? Okay.
yeah, they can. Um,
I think of like Thanos when he like has that like uses the
Yeah,
space stone, has that cloud, they just
right.
like walk through like a gateway. Be
I'll
kind of
do it
cool.
myself. Yeah.
Doesn't this epigraph also hint that Nohadon was very against slavery if he's saying that everyone has the right to
Yep.
escape a bad situation?
That is correct.
yep.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That is
Considering
the
the
ultimate conclusion. However,
right.
the founding fathers of the U.S. also thought some of them also thought slavery was bad and also held slaves. So
Interesting. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so the first the first chapter, chapter 25,
yeah,
the arch has 4 slots filled by Yezrian, the Windrunner patron. Um, his attributes are protecting and leading, and his role as king. I feel like that pertains to Dalinar's part. What do you guys think?
I agree with that.
Yeah, that matches.
And also
Yeah,
it's the like Mraize and Eotil as the leaders of the Ghost Bloods.
true. Yeah. And
Yeah,
Shallan's the leader of the unseen court.
that's right. We got a lot
Yeah,
of
that's
new
true.
A lot of leaders.
Sja-anat is the leader of the enlightened Spren. No,
Sure.
there's not really a leader.
Chapter 26, Hunting the Hunter, is 4 slots filled by Bata or Batar, patron of the Else Callers. I wonder if that's a tease. Maybe Griff's onto something there.
Maybe.
Um, the attributes are wise and careful, and the role is counselor. I feel like Shallan is being very wise and careful. There's a lot
Yeah,
of wisdom in this room with all those little knickknacks.
up until the very
Um,
end. Yeah.
yeah. I wonder why they didn't have like the same white bone that Wit did like a few chapters ago,
To talk to the dragon?
or to talk to somebody. I don't know. It seemed like it was a like a Cosmere cell phone.
It did seem like that. I wonder why too, actually.
Maybe they have one of just like not like on display. They're just like, oh, this is just a common thing.
Eotil got
You
tired
don't
of
have one?
hearing "Call me maybe." Uh,
Yeah. This is the white bone 16 plus. Do you not have this one yet?
yeah. Extra man.
I will say there was a
as
lot of action in these chapters. Not a whole lot of. I mean, there was definitely some lore reveals, but it was kind of light on that front.
yeah.
A lot of
There
speculation, a lot of things we can guess about, but not a whole lot of solid answers.
no, just a lot of teases for stuff, but I kind of like it when it's like
Oh
that.
yeah, no, I didn't dislike it.
Yeah.
I think it definitely
No,
sparked
not
some
saying it.
discussion.
Yeah.
Um, but
There were
yeah, I'm curious to see where things go because I'm more curious to see what the Ghostbloods are going to do now in regards to following Dalinar, because clearly, like whatever they planned to do originally, Shallan has kind of shot that in the foot.
You know what?
yeah,
I'm
like
calling it now.
what is their objective
This is
aside
this is what's about
from
to happen.
Thydacars?
This is what's about to happen, guys. Eotil and Mraize are gonna die in the next chapter. Shallan is just gonna straight up kill him. Is gonna be like
No.
she's gonna kill one of them. She's gonna kill
Maybe
Mraize.
at the end. Maybe at the end.
She's gonna kill Mraize now. She's gonna get it out of the way.
No way. No. It's
No,
like a Sadius moment. We need the satisfaction at the end.
no, no.
Okay, no, here's what's going to happen actually, is
Okay.
that what's her name? Who's the one with the mask? Not Shallan, the other one.
Eotil.
Yeah, Eotel is going to jump Shallan, and then Mraize is going to run in, and then something is going to go haywire. Whatever they plan to do to piggyback off of Dalinar's trip is going to go haywire, and all three are going to get dumped into the spiritual realm.
Oh my God. And then Rlain and Renarin are gonna go save him.
I feel like Mraize
Yes.
is just gonna run like a little bee.
No, Mraize is gonna die. Eotil is gonna call the whole thing off because it was her plan. She's gonna be back in 6 through 10. Uh, and then the
Why?
ghost,
What is their mission right now? Like we've gotten the hints that they're like breaking away from the Thydacar like mission,
Right.
which is just to protect Scadrial. What are they doing? What is their goal?
they are going to use Ba Edo Mishram to control the shards. That's what
Why
Eotil.
would they do that if they can just become honor?
No, they got to control the shards. They don't want to become a
All
shard.
of them?
They want to control. That's what she was saying.
Okay.
That's what she
Oh, okay.
is that for her purpose, if they get Ba Edo Mishram, they can figure out or they can control the shards.
Okay. Why? What's their goal? Like what do
To
they want to
control the
accomplish on Roshar?
Get Ba Edo Mishram.
I mean, I think
I
probably
know, but like
their plan.
what's the end goal? They just want to be like they just want to rule Roshar from
They're probably
behind
going to
the,
rule the
the
universe.
curtain.
Well, I don't think they probably want to rule Roshar. I mean, I think if you have a way to control the shards, you could probably rule the entire Cosmere.
Right, like Raze did. Like Raze was wanting, but you could do it
Hmm.
easier because you had all 16 shards under your control. And then in Mistborn Era 5, they're going to have to go back to Roshar and capture Ba Eta Mishram again.
Oh, also something to bring up, and this is a bit of a late addition, and I forgot to include it until recently. What do we think Hoyd was talking about with the person giving up the power of a shard and
He was talking
it
about
being the
Mistborn
wrong
Era 1.
choice?
Yeah, Mistborn Era, Well of Ascension. Vin.
Hero of Ages, you mean, right?
Oh, really?
No, no. Well of Ascension. Vin gives up
Oh,
the
Well of
power,
Ascension.
and it was the wrong choice. It was the wrong decision.
Right,
It's ruined.
right. That's what it was.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. That's
I always
right.
forget about Well of Ascension, man. Dang it. Yeah.
We
Okay, that
have,
makes sense.
look, we all know Well of Ascension is the weakest one, but if we're gonna call ourselves Silverlight Guides, we have to appreciate the book anyways.
I
Yes, I
appreciate
agree.
the book. I appreciate the
I
book.
appreciate it a lot
I
more
have my
without the
issues
love
with
triangle,
it. Sounds like me and Griff are in agreement. I definitely have that's probably my least favorite Cosmere novel.
but I think it's probably
Probably a hot
I think
take.
it's everybody's least favorite aspect of the
No,
Cosmere. That
a
that love
lot of people
triangle.
love that one. A lot of people like it more
Really?
than the Final Empire, which is like crazy
Oof.
to me. But no, if you find enjoyment with it, I am so glad. I think I'm gonna enjoy it a
I
lot more on a reread. But
I
I
like pretty
couldn't
much
get
all
into it.
I like pretty much all other aspects of the book. It's just a love triangle that bugs the hell out of me.
Well,
I was
I
so
yeah.
glad when she goes through the tower and like completely and utterly obliterates their like little camp thing they have in the city. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Um,
sorry, that's spoilers.
you're fine. The read alonger Lynn shared two theories. One of them's pretty um interesting. One of them's really funny, which I'm just gonna shout both
Yeah,
out because why not?
do
The
it.
first one from Reddit, Serufan has an interesting theory based on the epigraphs. From this, I predicted that someone will get to leave Roshar at the end of Wat, when in truth, maybe Odium in case Odium loses, or the Knights Radiant in case Dalinar loses. This is a Lethe right of travel, but BS putting this here foreshadows that someone or some group will get right of travel to leave Roshar, even if their team loses, likely the Knights Radiant. That's kind of like what we were talking about a few minutes ago.
Yeah, that's where I got the
Um,
idea was from that.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one I read earlier though. This one's pretty hilarious. Um, what if Stick is a shard blade? This comes from Red Shadow 310. In an earlier chapter, it's mentioned that abandoned blades fade in the physical world after time. What if they don't fade completely, but the perception of them changes? A Deadeye Radiance friend, abandoned on an isolated beach for millennia, begins to perceive itself as a stick, like all the other driftwood around it, and it changes form. I gotta tell you, I just reread The Emperor's Soul this weekend with my wife. We went on a road trip to wine country and we just listened to it on the way. And this does not sound implausible, I gotta say. Everything has a soul um, in the Cosmere, and
That's
perceptions
true.
of their identity change over time, just like how a brick can see itself as part of a wall. Thoughts? Will
I
Bippy
mean,
wield
we
stick?
do know we do know that Lift refuses to form their shard blade into a blade.
Um, yeah, I think that's more lift than it is Windle.
Yeah,
No, I realize. What I'm saying is that the shard blade taking the form of a stick or something less blade-like is not impossible.
sure.
Yeah, yeah, she uses like a rod, I think, in
Or
Yeah,
Edgecaster.
because I think killing and all
It's
that
just like a
is.
police baton,
yeah.
just like whacking someone.
That said,
Um,
I unfortunately have some stuff that I need to do, so I'm going to sign off.
Okay.
yeah, I gotta get going too.
I think we're all just gonna sign off right now abruptly.
Abruptly with no, well, no, I think we're gonna uh do our normal sign off. Does anybody have any last notes they want to throw out before we end the stream?
Nope.
I said stream. This is definitely not a stream, but you know what I
It's a river of awesome.
meant. The door is
Clearly a
ajar.
brook. It's clearly a brook, Alex. Come
Yeah, Brooke. Sorry. It's an eddy.
Correct.
on. God, I don't want to get on this again.
Okay, Griff, take us out. God, take us
Anyway,
out.
all right. Until next time, don't panic, world hoppers.
Life before death, strength before weakness.
Blippi is absolutely going to wield stick as a shard blade. Confirmed. Before destination.
Perfect.
Great.